Okay, so maybe you've ordered the pizza. Maybe that first bite really does taste good. Maybe even the second bite gives you kind of a sliver of happiness. But isn't it true that before long we start to kind of feel guilty that we ordered the pizza in the first place because we didn't really need it? And before that empty pizza box hits the bottom of the trash can, any kind of happiness that we might have been given by eating that pizza is gone. It didn't work. Now, I do not want to get a reputation for being a pizza hater, nor do I want you to think that I am anti-pizza. But pizza is not going to bring us happiness, nor is drinking too much or smoking or doing all those behaviors that we know aren't good for us, but we do them anyway because they're just a habit. And we get all these external cues to say, it's okay, you can keep doing that. There's nothing wrong with eating 2 or 3 pieces of pizza. But what about the 4th and the 5th, or the 4th and the 5th drink? That's what those external cues are telling us are going to bring us happiness. So I think we mostly know that looking for happiness in external circumstances is not really going to make us happy. So let's look at the second option. What if we were to look for happiness in our mind and in our emotions? And in fact, our thoughts and our feelings are a huge part of the happiness and the meaning that we feel in our life. Isn't that true? And yet, we also know that many of the thoughts and feelings that we have in any given moment aren't even related to what's happening in that particular situation. It's actually the memories and stories and experiences that we had long ago in our life that is stored in our subconscious. And there's a wonderful book called The Biology of Belief. And in it, Bruce Lipton explains to us that in any given moment, your conscious brain can process 40 bits of information per second. And in that same moment, your subconscious brain processes 20 million bits of information. So is it any wonder that we often in our lives feel like we're on autopilot, like we're making decisions and we're choosing things in our life by whatever happened in our past? And in fact, they found that this is often true. I wanted to tell a story about a book I read several years ago, and I'm still just deeply haunted by it. It's a book called A Boy Called It. Some of you may have read it. It was written by a man named David Peltzer. And David Peltzer was abused as a child in what at the time in California was the worst child abuse case ever documented. This poor little boy was made to live out in the garage, barely getting enough food to eat. And his mentally disturbed alcoholic mother would imprison him in the bathroom and purposely place toxic chemicals in there with him to bring him to the brink of death over and over and over again. Now, when the authorities found out and were able to remove David from this terrible, horrific situation, he was placed in foster care. And yet, the first thing he wanted to do when he was in foster care is that he wanted to go back and see his mom and make sure that his mom was okay. Now, logically, we're wondering, why on earth would he not have realized that he had finally become free of his tormentor? Why would he want to go back and see his mom? And we know that the reason is that because in his subconscious, he was being told that being there in that place, no matter how terrible it was, that was normal. And don't we all do that to some extent? We have things that we do that we know aren't good. If we were thinking logically, we wouldn't do them. But our subconscious brain tells us, no, that's normal. So how on earth do we overcome these 20 million bits of subconscious information that are coming at us in every moment of every day? And David Peltzer, this poor, terribly abused boy, the good news is that he found a way out. And he's gone on to write many inspiring books and be an inspiration with his life. And when he asked, how did he overcome something so horrific? He said 3 things. He said, taking personal responsibility, being able to know that he had the ability to change his life, to be of service to others, and to have faith. So personal responsibility, service to others, and faith. This is what this boy learned in order to pull himself out of the most terrible situation that anybody can imagine. And so the good news is that no matter what's happened in any of our lives up until this point, we all have everything we need in order to be divinely inspired. It doesn't go away. It's not someplace where we can't find it. It is always with us. The divine inspiration that can cause us to have incredible transformations in our lives. It doesn't mean that somebody's got it and somebody does it. It means everybody has it. And I wanted to read a particular passage that many of you have heard before within this context. I wanted to read the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now, what are these words pointing to? Are they telling us that we need to find some guy named Lord, and we need to go move in with him, and that he'll be responsible for our happiness? Is it pointing to that we should go find some girl named Lord, and that if we move in with her, and she'll make our life wonderful, and she'll be responsible for our happiness? I don't think so. I think this passage is trying to tell us that we have the divine inspiration with us no matter where we go. The Lord, divine source, is my shepherd, I shall not want. And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord. I shall dwell in the house of the divine source of divine inspiration forever. It's always there. It never goes away.